You have been chasing something your entire life. You called it happiness, and the faster you chased it, the further it moved. While you were running, they were watching and winning. Your pursuit of happiness is not inspiration, it is your leash. They built the idea of happiness and handed it to you, then sold you everything that promised to deliver it. The job, the relationship, the body, the approval. Each one promised arrival, none of them delivered it. Because happiness was never the destination, it was the distraction. Schopenhauer saw this 200 years ago. He put it plainly. Nobody listened, because the truth was too expensive. Today, on this channel, you are going to hear it, and it will cost you something. It will cost you the comfortable lie you have been living inside. From childhood, they told you, be happy, stay positive, good things come to happy people. So you performed happiness even when you felt nothing, because unhappiness felt like failure. And while you performed, you were predictable, manageable, safe to exploit. A happy man is an agreeable man. An agreeable man does not make demands, does not draw lines, does not walk away. Because happy men do not want to disturb the peace they worked so hard to perform. They kept you chasing happiness because a chasing man never stops to look at who built the track. The track was built by advertisers, by employers, by social systems that need you productive, consuming, and just dissatisfied enough to keep moving, not happy enough to stop, not miserable enough to revolt, perfectly calibrated, perfectly managed. You were never supposed to question the chase. Questioning it was called pessimism, ingratitude, negativity. The man who questions the chase is dangerous because he might stop, and a man who stops looks around, and a man who looks around sees everything. You felt this, the moments between the chasing when you sat still and something felt wrong. You called it depression. It was clarity. They medicated it, distracted it, told you to get back out there, keep moving, stay positive. But the question never went away. It is still there, right now, underneath everything. Schopenhauer answered it, not with comfort, with the kind of truth that sets you free by first making you furious. His name was Schopenhauer, and he refused to lie to you. Arthur Schopenhauer was born into comfort. He walked away from it deliberately. His family was wealthy. His mother was famous. He had every reason to perform happiness. He refused. He studied Eastern philosophy, Buddhism, the Upanishads, ancient texts that Western culture buried because they were too honest about suffering. He concluded what the Buddhists had said for millennia: desire is the engine of suffering, and happiness, as the world sells it, is the most profitable desire of all. His masterwork, The World as Will and Representation, was published in 1818. It sold almost nothing. He was 30 years old and already certain he was right. 50 years later, the world caught up. By then, he had stopped waiting for it to. He wrote one sentence that dismantles the entire happiness industry, one sentence that explains why you are tired. Happiness is not a destination, it is a brief pause between one desire and the next. Schopenhauer. Read that again. A pause, not an arrival. A gap between wanting. The moment the first desire is satisfied, the next one is already forming. You were never going to arrive. The game was designed without a finish line. This is not nihilism, this is liberation. When you stop chasing the finish line, you start actually living the race. Now, 6 lessons. Each one reclaims something the happiness chase cost you.
Lesson 1. The finish line does not exist. Stop running toward it. You told yourself, when I get the job, I will be happy. When I get the relationship, when I lose the weight, when I hit the number. You got some of them, and for a moment there was relief. Then the next wanting arrived, right on schedule. Schopenhauer called this the treadmill of willing. You run, you arrive, you want again. The machine never stops. The practical shift: stop measuring your life by what you have not yet achieved. Start measuring it by what you are building right now, today, in this hour. The man who finds meaning in the work, not the reward, cannot be controlled by the promise of the reward. They cannot dangle what you have stopped reaching for. If you have finally seen the finish line for what it is, drop this in the comments. I build, I do not chase. Purpose is not found at the destination. It is built into the daily act of moving with intention. That is where they cannot follow you, into the present moment of your own deliberate work. Lesson 2. Suffering is the default setting. The man who accepts this is unstoppable. Schopenhauer's most brutal claim: suffering is not the exception, it is the rule. Life is suffering interrupted by brief moments of satisfied desire before the next desire forms. This sounds like despair. It is the opposite, because a man who accepts suffering as normal stops being destroyed by it. Your suffering does not mean something went wrong. It means you are alive and the system is operating exactly as it always has. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. Use it to stop being surprised by difficulty and start being prepared for it. The man who expects difficulty is never ambushed by it. He has already made peace with it before it arrives. Practical move. Every morning, before the day begins, acknowledge that it will contain difficulty. Name it, expect it, then move anyway. The happiness chasers collapse when difficulty arrives because it contradicts their story. You will not collapse because difficulty is already written into yours. They cannot use suffering against a man who has already befriended it. If you are done pretending difficulty is not coming, drop this in the comments. I expect the storm. I am ready. Lesson 3. Between pain and boredom, they chose boredom for you. Schopenhauer said life swings between pain and boredom. When desire is unsatisfied, pain. When desire is satisfied, boredom. There is no third state, only better management of the two. They chose boredom for you. The phone, the feed, the endless content, calibrated to keep you too stimulated to think and too empty to act. Engineered boredom is the perfect control mechanism. You feel vaguely dissatisfied, but not dissatisfied enough to change anything fundamental. Real boredom, Schopenhauer's boredom, is different. It is the confrontation with yourself that happens when all distraction is removed. Most men cannot sit with that for 5 minutes because what they find there is everything they have been running from. Practical move: 1 hour per day, no phone, no screen, no people. Sit with what arrives. What arrives is who you actually are. That man needs to be known. The man who can tolerate real silence is a man they cannot sedate, cannot distract, cannot manage with entertainment. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the door. Most men never walk through it because they were given a phone instead of a key. Walk through the door. What is on the other side is the version of you they were most afraid you would be becoming. Lesson 4. The man who masters his wanting masters everything. Schopenhauer's solution to the suffering of desire was not more desire, it was denial of the will, choosing what you want rather than being chosen by it. You did not choose most of your desires, they were installed by advertising, by comparison, by the carefully managed dissatisfaction of social media. Every installed desire is a control point. Someone else put it there, and they know how to activate it. Practical move. For every strong desire you feel, ask where it came from. Did you generate it, or did something show it to you and teach you to want it? Native desires are few. They point toward what you actually need. Installed desires are many. They point toward what someone else profits from. Strip the installed ones. What remains is the real architecture of who you are and what you actually need to build. If you are ready to want only what is genuinely yours, drop this in the comments. I choose my desires, they do not choose me. The man who has stripped his desires to the essential needs almost nothing from the world, and a man who needs almost nothing from the world cannot be sold to, managed, or controlled. This is not poverty, this is precision. Wanting precisely is the most powerful thing a man can do.
Lesson 5. The one state where the will goes silent and you finally rest. Schopenhauer believed there was one escape from the treadmill of desire. Not happiness, not achievement, aesthetic contemplation, art, music, nature. In the presence of genuine beauty, the wanting stops, just for a moment. You are not the pursuer, you simply are. Those moments are not weakness, they are the closest you get to freedom while still alive. Schopenhauer called them the highest human experience. They have replaced these moments with content, replaced silence with noise, replaced contemplation with consumption. Because a contemplating man asks questions, a consuming man just buys. Practical move? Build one daily moment of genuine contemplation, not meditation as performance, silence as contact with something real beyond your wanting. Walk without the phone. Sit with music and nothing else. Stand before something large enough to make you feel small and let that feeling do its work. In those moments, you are not a consumer, not a producer, not a target. You are simply a man, and simply a man is the most dangerous thing you can be. The happiness machine cannot sell to a man who has found peace in what is already present. If you remember the last time the wanting went quiet and you simply were, drop this in the comments. I am. I do not need to arrive. Lesson 6. True strength is not the absence of feeling. It is feeling without being destroyed by it. Schopenhauer was not cold. He gave money to the poor. He loved his dog with genuine devotion. He felt everything. He simply refused to be consumed by it. The happiness chase makes you emotionally fragile, because if happiness is the goal, then every negative emotion is a failure, and you spend your life suppressing failure. Suppressed emotion does not disappear, it accumulates, and accumulated emotion is a liability, one that other people can trigger at will. Schopenhauer's alternative: feel everything. Name it accurately. Sit with it until it passes. Do not perform happiness over it, and do not let it make decisions for you. Practical move: when something hard arrives, name it before you act on it. Anger, fear, grief. Name the thing, then decide what to do. In that order, never reversed. The man who names his emotions before acting on them cannot be provoked, cannot be destabilized, cannot be manipulated through his own feeling. This is not suppression, this is mastery. The feeling is real, the response is chosen. That distinction is everything. Schopenhauer felt the full weight of existence. He wrote about it with precision rather than performance. That is what made him impossible to dismiss and impossible to manipulate. Feel without collapse. That is the final lesson, and it is the hardest one, and it is the one that makes everything else possible. You came here chasing something, a feeling, an answer, a permission, something to make the weight lighter. And somewhere in the last 10 minutes, you stopped chasing. Even just for a moment, you were simply here, present, listening. The old you is dead, the one who ran toward a finish line that was always moving, who performed happiness he did not feel, who chased approval disguised as joy. What replaces him is not a cold man, not a bitter man, a precise man, a present man, a man who moves with intention rather than with hunger. You are a weapon, pointed at your own future, not at happiness, at the life you will build in full knowledge of what it actually is. Schopenhauer did not chase happiness, he built philosophy. He built discipline. He built a mind no institution could own and no rejection could destroy. And history made him permanent, not because he was happy, because he was true. You belong to no one, not to the happiness industry, not to the algorithm that profits from your dissatisfaction, not to the version of you that was built to consume and comply. Stop chasing happiness. Start building a life so honest, so precisely yours, that happiness becomes irrelevant as a category. That life, they cannot sell you anything to improve, and a man they cannot sell to is a man they cannot own. If this reached you, you were already ready for it. That is not an accident. Codex of power exists for one kind of man, the man who is done being managed by his own desires, done being sold a destination that was never real. Subscribe, but only because you decided this knowledge belongs in your life, not for the algorithm, for you. That distinction matters. Every video on this channel removes something that was installed without your consent. Schopenhauer was only the beginning. One question before you go. Sit with it tonight. What is the one thing you have been calling happiness that you know, if you're honest right now, was never happiness at all?